Hello and welcome to another technical analysis tutorial. Today we want to take a look at the ADX, which is a trend indicator that can help us to understand the strength of a trend, and it also can help us to understand in which direction a trend is going. First of all, if we are, I'm in TradingView, so to add it, I would always look for the ADX and DI. That works pretty well. And also the default settings work pretty well. So one important thing to look out for here is the 20 level. So this is a threshold line that many traders use to determine, are we in an uptrend or not, or are we in a trend at all or not. And historically, the 25 level has often been used, but with the 25, you are lagging behind a little bit. So 20 generally works quite well. And on TradingView, it's also the default setting. So that is what has worked for me in the past. And I think it's a pretty good setting. So the first line on the ADX we want to take a look at is this white line here. So this is basically the ADX line in itself. And the ADX line in itself is talking about, or is giving us some information about how strong is a trend. Are we actually in a trend? And how strong is the trend? So if we just take this example here, first of all, as said, we've got the 20 threshold. So that 20 level is important for the ADX line because many traders will determine here when we cross above the 20 line, they will use that information to define that we are in a trend. And let's just draw a vertical line here so that we can see if we actually are in a trend. So if we just go here and assume this is where the 20 was, so we can clearly see here, this is when we crossed the 20 line, and we can see that we moved up here with the price as well, all the way up, and at some point here, the trend then shifted, or the trend became weaker, and then we made another cross of the 20 line here. So let's mark that here. What I need to talk to you about is that this white line, the ADX line, it doesn't give us any directional information. So even if we are in a downtrend, you will see the white line going up because it just shows you the strength of a trend. Yeah. Later we talk about the green and the red lines here. They will talk to us about, are we actually in a bullish trend or a bearish trend? But the white line just talks about the strength of a trend. And again, here we then cross the 20 line again, uptrend, generally trend, and then we had another cross here of the 20 line here. So if we just take a look at that, we can clearly see that down here, the price, where was the price? We were at around 19, 20 cents maybe. And then we maybe entered a trade, yeah, and we entered a long position. And this is where it gives us the information that this trend is now over. And this was here at the 35 cents. So you could have really made a good profit here. And then we cross the 20 line again to the downside, which then is an indication that we are not in a trending market anymore. So basically in a sideways move. But for me personally, this is where it comes into play what I said earlier. Don't use the ADX on its own. Always use it with some other indicators. For example, understand price action behavior, or use moving averages. For example, here, the 20-day moving average, which is this green line here, could have told us that, well, we haven't broken it to the downside yet. So potentially more risky traders, or you could have used that information to determine, well, I'm not exiting this trade at the moment. I only exited when we broke below the 20-day moving average, because the 20-day moving average has provided support here already for a while, haven't broken it to the downside, and then you could have stayed in the trade for a much longer time, because here at this point on the 6th of February, we crossed it, the 20 line again to the upside, and then we had some nice gains, because then up until here, this is where it crossed again to the downside. Up until here, we then moved up from, let's start here, from 35 cents to up to 114. Now here's when some people might have then exited the trade based on the information of the ADX. And yes, indeed, we were then in a really a more or less longer sideways movement until here then, where it crossed again to the upside. It was here. And then we had another cross here that was to the downside then. So it wasn't really best indicator for this purpose, but still wasn't too bad, because you could have still entered here at 118 and exited here at 133. Whereas then again, you could have used it was a bit of a false information here, because it took quite a bit of time then until we had another cross to the upside, and that was nearly too late already. I mean, we started already here, but the ADX didn't give you an indication until we were already at nearly 188 or something. So again, always use the moving averages, because in this period here we were above the moving average, above the 20-day moving average especially. So this is, however, still giving you a good indication of how strong a trend is. But you can clearly see that the ADX line itself is lagging behind a little bit. That's why I say it is a really good indication, but also use different indicators like the moving averages to complement it. And then we've got the red and the green lines down here. So as I said, the white line only gives us information about how strong a trend is. So it can give you a heads up when we're at the top of the trend here, and then when we're moving down, it shows you already a weakening of the trend. But then what we have as well, we need to understand, are we actually in an uptrend or a downtrend? And we've got these red and green lines, which take a look at the price action of the red and green candles. So it basically gives us a heads up, normally already a bit earlier, before the ADX line crosses the 20. For example, here in this occasion, we can see that already on the 28th of December, we had a cross here, a bullish cross of, and I zoom in a little bit, a bullish cross here of the two DI plus and two DI minus lines. Yeah, so we moved from the green line crossed above the red line, then moved up. But the ADX, it took the ADX until the 4th of January to give us an indication as well. So we can already see that the price moved up from here, but it wasn't enough for the ADX. So, but still, the ADX was then just a confirmation that the trend was picking up in momentum. But yeah, this just indicates that we were still in like an uptrend. Then we've got this period here where there was a bit of uncertainty. But again, here in this period of uncertainty, in this sideways move, we could have used the moving average to support it. And then again, we moved, the green line moved above the red line. Clear direction is indicated by going up. And again, here a bit of uncertainty in that period, where the ADX moved below the 20 line, but we could have realized some nice gains here. So we could have exited the trade and just left it as it is. The ADX doesn't work that well in let's say in a channel market or a sideways move. So we want to use it at the beginning of a trending market, or to understand when trends are ending, but it is a good indicator of when the trends are starting. And yeah, that's basically what it is. Let's see if we can find an example of where the red line is crossing the green line, like here. So we saw here that already the ADX here gave us an indication before we had that price move up that we were actually in a trending market, and at this point the green line was actually above the red line, so an uptrend. And then we saw already here on the, that was quite a good indicator actually here at this point, on the 18th of May. We saw the red line crossing above the green line. This was pretty much a heads up that we were entering quite rapidly a downtrend. This was actually the 19th of May, that we were entering quite rapidly a downtrend, and people could have exited the trade here. But the trend was still very strong, but that is because the white line doesn't really tell us about the direction. The direction change is indicated by the red and the green lines. And that's pretty much how you can use it. I would recommend to use the moving averages as support, depending on your time frame, maybe the 20 and the 50. For me on the daily, the 20 and the 50 work pretty well. The 200 and the 100 more for a longer term indication where we are. And basically this ADX can really be used together with the moving averages, maybe also with trend lines, to give a good indication of maybe entry and exits. But never use it on its own. I don't think that works, because it never works 100% anyway, but together with like moving averages, it can give you a really good indication. So that is the ADX and the DI plus and DI minus in indicator lines. Hope that video was useful. If you liked it, please smash the like button, leave a comment and subscribe for more videos. Thanks a lot for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.